My dear child, before anything else, I want you to know how deeply and endlessly you are loved. This is not the kind of love that changes with moods or seasons. It is a constant, unshakable love that watches over you in the silence and chaos alike. I have spoken to you time and time again, not to control you or burden you, but to guide you into the fullness of life that was always meant to be yours. You may not always understand why I speak when I do, or why my words sometimes challenge you, but everything I say, every whisper, every caution, every encouragement, is born from a place of pure and perfect love. My dear child, one of the greatest gifts you've been given is the ability to listen, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Yet, I've seen how easily distractions can drown out what truly matters. The noise of the world, the rush of life, and the constant demands on your time often leave little room for the stillness where my voice can be heard. I understand that, but I urge you, find time for quiet. Make space in your heart to truly listen. Because when I speak, I'm not just giving you information. I'm giving you protection, direction, and a path away from harm. There have been moments when I gently warned you, when I whispered into your spirit to turn away from something, to pause before acting, to speak or stay silent. Sometimes you listened and you saw how things worked out in ways you never could have orchestrated yourself. Other times, you brushed my words aside, thinking they were just your own thoughts or too inconvenient to follow. And I know, my dear child, that the regret from those moments lingers. But even in those times, I never walked away. I waited. I watched. I stayed, ready to speak again the moment your heart turned back toward mine. Listening to me isn't always easy, because what I say may not align with what you want in the moment. Sometimes my words will ask you to be still when you want to move, or to move when you want to stay still. They may call you to step away from what feels familiar or safe. But trust this, my vision is eternal. I see the traps before you ever approach them. I see the plans formed in darkness meant to harm you, and I speak to shield you before you even know you're in danger. My dear child, listening is the beginning of transformation. When you listen, truly listen, you begin to live not just by what you see or feel, but by what is true. You step out of the temporary and into the eternal. You begin to walk with clarity and strength, no longer driven by confusion or fear. And you also become someone others can lean on, because when you walk in the light, you carry that light into every room you enter. So today I invite you, no, I plead with you, listen. When the world screams for your attention, turn your ear to my whisper. When your thoughts are racing, pause and ask, what is he saying to me right now? Don't wait for the storm to get louder. Don't wait until things fall apart to remember my words. Cultivate a heart that listens every day, in the small moments and the big decisions alike. Let listening become a rhythm, a posture, a way of life. My dear child, you will never regret listening to my voice. It will never lead you astray. Even when it doesn't make sense in the moment, you will look back and see how I was weaving beauty, safety, and purpose into your story. I am always speaking, not with thunder, but with love. Tune your heart to hear me. It is there that your peace begins. It is there that your life begins to bloom. This is only the beginning, my child. You were made to walk in this light. Let's start with the choice to listen, deeply, intentionally, and with a heart ready to follow. My dear child, let's speak now about something that quietly creeps into even the most sincere heart. Neglect. Not the loud kind that shakes the world around you, but the subtle kind. The kind that happens when days pass and you forget to pause, when your soul becomes too busy, too tired, or too distracted to remember the very things that anchor your spirit. This is not about condemnation. No, my dear child, this is about awakening. This is about seeing with new eyes what you may have allowed to slip through your fingers. The sacred, the essential, the divine truth I have spoken into your life. You see, neglect isn't always intentional. Often, it disguises itself as survival, just getting through the day, checking off tasks, trying to hold things together. And in doing so, you slowly lose your grip on what matters most. You forget the power I place in your hands. You forget the words I've given you. You forget that I've called you, equipped you, and surrounded you with my presence. My dear child, forgetting isn't just a momentary lapse. It's a doorway. And when you walk through it without realizing, the enemy finds his way in through your unguarded heart. I have told you lovingly, again and again, do not forget the 3 words I have placed in your life. God is with me. These are not just comforting words to pull out in an emergency. They are your daily armor, your steady reminder, your declaration to the universe and to every force of darkness that you are not alone, not helpless, and not without covering. When you neglect these words, even unintentionally, you distance yourself from the power and protection they release. You begin to rely on your own strength again, which was never meant to carry the weight of your destiny. My dear child, I do not say this to shame you. I say it because I see the battles you are facing. I see how hard you are trying to be strong, to be enough, to hold things together when you're falling apart inside. But you don't have to do it alone. You were never meant to. And that's why I gave you those 3 words, not as a rule, but as a rescue, not as a formula, but as a lifeline. God is with me is not just something you say. It's something you stand on. It changes the atmosphere. It opens your heart to receive strength beyond your own. It reminds your soul that I am near, active, and in control, even when everything around you feels uncertain. Think about the moments when you felt the most overwhelmed, the fear that closed in, the confusion that clouded your mind, the pressure that made it hard to breathe. In those moments, what would have happened if you had stopped everything, lifted your voice, and said, God is with me, not just whispered out of routine, but declared it with faith and reverence? What would have shifted? What peace would have come? What attack would have been halted? My dear child, these 3 words are your shield. They're your sword. They're your anchor when the waves rise high. And yet, how often do you allow them to fade into the background of your life? You remember them only when the pressure builds, when things are falling apart. But I did not give you these words just for emergencies. I gave them for every moment. For your waking, your working, your resting, your decision-making, your relationships, your doubts, your dreams. These words are meant to be the rhythm of your life, echoing through your thoughts and reshaping your responses. Let me speak to you clearly, my dear child. When you neglect what I have spoken, you step outside the shelter I have offered. That doesn't mean I abandon you. I never will. But it means you face the world with less light than I intended for you. I see the pain that comes when you walk unaware, when you forget what I've already equipped you with. And it aches my heart, not in anger, but in compassion, because I want more for you. I want you to live with strength, with confidence, with peace, not because life is easy, but because you know I am with you in all of it. This is not about saying the right words to earn my favor. This is about choosing daily to align your heart with truth, to live from a place of divine awareness. Every time you say, God is with me, you're not just reminding yourself, you're declaring it into the atmosphere. You're pushing back against every lie that says you're alone, every fear that says you won't make it, every shadow that tries to convince you that the light has left. My dear child, the enemy would love for you to stay silent, to forget, to neglect, because he knows the power those words carry. But you must rise. You must remember. You must make a habit of speaking life into your day before it even begins. When your feet hit the floor in the morning, let those words be your first breath. When things don't go as planned, speak them. When your heart feels anxious, speak them. When you're celebrating and when you're grieving, speak them. Speak them until your soul believes again. Speak them until the atmosphere shifts. Speak them until your heart is reminded that you are never, ever alone. My dear child, neglect is not just forgetting. It is surrendering something sacred without realizing it. But today, you can choose differently. Today, you can return to the words. You can remember the truth. You can begin again. And every time you do, heaven rejoices. Every time you speak, I respond. Every time you trust me, even a little, I move in ways you cannot see. So come back to what matters. Not to guilt, but to grace. Not to fear, but to faith. Let those 3 words anchor your days. Let them be the melody that steadies your heart and the weapon that defeats your darkness. God is with me. Say it, live it, believe it, and you will never walk alone. My dear child, this is your invitation. Do not let it slip away. The The time is now. The light is calling. And I am here, always, always with you. My dear child, now that you return to remember, let me take you deeper. Let's talk about the quiet strength that comes not from doing more, but from remembering well. You see, the world around you will always try to convince you that progress only comes from effort, that peace only comes when everything is fixed, and that strength means having it all together. But your father, moved differently. I work in stillness. I move in remembrance. And I bring victory through what the world sees as small, 3 simple words. God is with me. Child, I want you to hear this. There is power in your remembrance. When you pause and recall my words, you're not being weak. You are becoming strong. Every time you choose to stop and speak truth instead of panic. Every time you remember my presence instead of reaching for control. Every time you whisper, God is with me, instead of spiraling into fear. You are winning battles that can't be seen with the eyes. Heaven sees. Hell trembles. And I, your father, smile with pride, not because you performed, but because you remembered. Let me remind you why these 3 words matter so much. Because when you say God is with me, you silence the lie that you're alone. You shatter the illusion that no one sees you. You remind your heart that your steps are ordered, your tears are counted, and your journey is known. You invite peace into your atmosphere. You invite heaven into your chaos. You align yourself with truth, and truth is always stronger than the noise. My dear child, it is not about how loud you shout these words or how often you post them. It's about how deeply you let them take root. Some days you will say them through tears. Some days you will say them while everything inside you screams that you're losing. And some days you will say them with boldness, full of faith. All of it counts. All of it matters. Every whisper of those words is a reminder to your soul and a declaration to the enemy. I know who is with me, and I am not afraid. You may not always feel my presence. You may not always see my hand, but I have never left you, even in the quiet, even in the silence, even in the waiting. I am with you. And when you remind yourself of that truth, the very ground beneath you becomes holy again. You do not walk ordinary paths, child. You walk roads I prepared. Your life is not random. It is marked. Your story is not forgotten. It is being written, even now. Remember how I moved for those before you? I was with Moses in the wilderness. I was with David in the valley. I was with Esther in the silence of a kingdom. I was with Daniel in the lion's den. I was with Jesus in the garden. And now I am with you. Do you see it? The thread of my faithfulness has always been my presence. Not the absence of struggle, but the assurance of me. And I have not changed. My presence is not something you have to earn. It's something you remember. And in that remembering, you realign with who you truly are, my beloved, my chosen, my protected one. So take these words, child, God is with me, and don't just carry them, live them. Let them reshape your mindset. Let them guide your choices. Let them be the breath between your anxious thoughts. Let them remind you that even when life is uncertain, I am not. And here's what I want you to hear next. When you remember my presence, you invite my power. When you declare my nearness, you access my strength. When you trust my witness, you stop trying to earn what I already freely give. So no more neglect, no more guilt. Just return. Return to the center. Return to the truth. Return to the words that were never meant to be a one-time promise, but a daily reality. God is with me. Say it again, my child, out loud, in your heart, with conviction, or even just a whisper. Let it fill the empty spaces. Let it calm your chaos. Let it become your response to everything. And when you forget again, and you will, because you're human, don't run away in shame. Just return. Return to the words. Return to me. I am always here, arms open, whispering over you. I never left. I am with you. I always have been. I always will be. This is your strength. This is your inheritance. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of the Almighty. You are not forsaken. You are not forgotten. You are not fighting alone. You are held. You are covered. You are surrounded. And always, always, God is with you. And child, in that truth, you already have a victory. Your obedience is your protection, not your punishment. My dear child, I want to speak to something that lies deep in your heart, something many carry but few ever name. It's the silent belief that my commands, my guidance, even my warnings are burdens, that somehow, when I ask you to obey, I am taking something from you, that I am holding back your freedom, your joy, your individuality. But hear me clearly now. Obedience to me is not punishment. It is protection. It is love in its highest form. It is the evidence of my care for your soul. You see, child, I do not speak just to be heard. I speak to preserve your life. My words are not restrictions. They are directions. My boundaries are not cages. They are safety rails on the edge of cliffs you cannot yet see. When I say stay away, or say these words, or trust me even when it hurts, it is not to control you. It is to cover you. I am the Father who sees the whole battlefield, while you walk forward step by step. You may only feel the moment, but I see the traps laid weeks ahead. I see the voices that will try to deceive you. I see the pain that tries to masquerade as pleasure. I see the good that's meant to distract you from the best I have prepared. And when I speak, child, it is to rescue you before the fall, not just to comfort you after it. My dear child, the enemy has whispered a dangerous lie into the hearts of many. He tells you that obedience is legalism, that surrender is weakness, and that my voice is outdated or optional. But you must not listen. You must not be fooled. Because every time you choose obedience, you choose life. You choose clarity over confusion. You choose peace over chaos. And most of all, you choose me, the one who has already chosen you again and again, even when you didn't choose me. Do you remember the moments when you listened to my quiet voice, even though it made no sense in the moment? Maybe you turned down an opportunity that looked perfect on the surface, but later you discovered the trap I spared you from. Maybe you reached out to someone in kindness, not knowing that your words would become their lifeline that day. Or maybe you just chose to wait when everything in you wanted to run, and in that stillness, I moved mountains on your behalf. That, my child, is a fruit of obedience. It's not always dramatic. It's often quiet, unseen, even misunderstood, but it is always powerful, always sacred, always worth it. But I must also speak to the other side, because there have been times, many times, when you heard my voice and chose your own way. You didn't mean to rebel. You were tired, distracted, afraid, or you simply didn't understand. And when the consequences came, you wondered if I had abandoned you. But no, my child, I never turned away. Even in your disobedience, I remained near, grieved, yes, wounded, yes, but never absent. I stayed, and I will always stay. But I speak to you now not to condemn, but to warn, because some traps don't come with a second chance. Some roads take you far longer to recover from than you ever imagined. That's why I urge you, with love that burns like fire, listen now, obey now, say the words I gave you, speak them with reverence, let them guide your steps. These 3 words, God is with me, are not just for your comfort, they are for your covering. They are like a key that locks the door against the enemy's schemes. When you speak them with faith, you realign your entire being with my will. You come under the shelter of my promises. And that shelter, child, is not passive. It is powerful. The enemy knows he cannot touch what is surrendered to me. So his greatest tactic is distraction. If he can't destroy you, he'll distract you. He'll lure you into complacency. He'll make obedience feel outdated or unnecessary. He'll make you forget what I've spoken or think you can handle on your own. But you must remember, obedience is warfare. Every time you obey, you win a battle that never makes headlines. Every time you submit, you push back the darkness that tries to creep into your life. Every time you say, God is with me, you are building a fortress of truth that no lie can break through. My dear child, this is not the time to waver. The days are growing darker. The noise is getting louder. The pressure is increasing. And while others may fall in confusion, fear, or compromise, I've called you to be different. I have marked you in my spirit. I have equipped you with my words, and I have placed in your hand a tool that many overlook, a heart that says yes to me, even when it's hard. That is your strength. That is your offering, and that is what I honor. So listen now. When you feel tired, obey anyway. When you feel confused, obey anyway. When you don't see the outcome, obey anyway. When the world mocks your faith, obey anyway. Because every step of obedience is a step toward wholeness, toward clarity, toward victory, and most of all, toward me. I will never lead you wrong, child. I may lead you into the wilderness, but I will never abandon you there. I may lead you into places of stretching, but I will never let you break. Every command I give is covered in love. Every instruction is infused with my goodness. And every time you say yes to me, you say no to the lies that want to rule your life. So walk with me, not just when it's easy, but when it's costly. Speak my words, not just when they're convenient, but when they're all you have left. Obey, not because you must, but because you know me and you trust me, because I promise you this. On the other side of obedience is always blessing. Not always in the way you expect. Not always on your timeline, but always for your good. My dear child, do not be afraid to surrender. Obedience is not the end of your freedom. It is the beginning of your life. And I am walking with you, step by step, word by word, choice by choice. You are not alone. You are never alone. God is with you, and that, child, is more than enough.